Hello, this is Alckemy Makes Beats. My name is John Makes Beats. Today we are going to make something inside of the DAW with Bitwig. I promise I'll never do that again. That was just for the first episode, but we're going to be jumping into some beat making, and I'm going to kind of walk you through my process and kind of just have a good time. I am going to do everything from scratch. That's how I do things. Yeah, does that sound good? Cool. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to pop open this thing. I am going to use this just to get some information in here. I'm going to shake it out and interrogate it. Where's my daughter, you son of a bitch? I don't have a second camera to kind of showcase what I'm doing, so you're just going to have to trust the sus. And we're going to plug in some notes here to get some things going on. But typically speaking, what I do is I make halftime, and that's just like cool and swingy beats. And maybe what I might even do is make something that's not too difficult just as the first episode. But we are going to get some melodies in here. I'm going to process them and mangle them, and then we're going to find a hook, and then I'm going to make some kind of hip-hop beat out of it. We'll make the drums from scratch via synthesis and make the bass. Yeah, we'll call it a day. I think for the most part, I'm probably not going to try to write the whole track just because of the format of what I'm doing. I think that I'm just going to try to write the beat or the main hook, and if something else comes along to where like I have the means to finish it, then I will, but I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on myself. So let's get something random in here. Let's pull up an instance of P. Hayes Plant, Face Plant. That's something that I do every Tuesday and Thursday at the gym. I hear that it's good for your heart health. There we go. Yeah. And what I'm doing is I'm just generating random melodies on this. So as you can see, I'm just kind of hitting this button here, and that's generating a random tone. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the division on this. And one thing that's kind of nice about the Oxy one is that you can set the playhead direction. So right now everything is going this way, but you can set it to go this way, or you can set it to go this way. Yeah, let's go for like a legato or something. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's add some distortion. There we go. I might just start with the effects grid, and then I'll build an actual custom beam patch, which I already have factory content with them, but I don't know, for some reason I'm just compelled to do everything from scratch because I have this symptom, a mild case of, I think it is called, what is this shit called? I'm about to hit you with some shit you've never heard before. You ready? Agoraphobia. No. Fear of forgetting. Athazagoraphobia. So I was wrong. Fuck. That is the phobia of forgetting. Athazagoraphobia. It is a rare and specific phobia characterized by an intense or irrational fear of losing one's memory or being forgotten by others. I don't give a shit about that. My memory, though, and making sure that everything stays fresh is kind of important. So that's why I have the tendency to do everything from scrizatch. One thing that I actually wanted to start with is that finding hooks is the most difficult thing for me for making beats, and that's what takes the longest. And I don't know why. I mean, I could sit down here and try to audiate a stupid melody or whatever, but I'm usually looking for something that I've never heard before, or something that's like way out of context that I'm like, that sounds like that could be a beat. And that kind of explains the reasoning behind my process about why I do so much of this shit. So I'm going to change this to unipolar so that way it only goes up. And then I'm going to set this to a bar so it unfolds a little bit smoother. So some of this is pretty cool. The second step to this that I'm going to try to do is we're going to start messing with the audio, see if I can repitch it or just try to find a cool moment that I can spread something out. The one thing that I've learned with this process is to not rush it and not force it. It is one of the slowest ways a lot of times to try to get to something interesting. But the more that you can just be patient with it and just keep stabbing at it and kind of keep doing stuff, especially if you don't have any idea about what to write, it can be extremely helpful to just ride the wave and to obviously like not give up on it. We're just going to kind of mess around with playing with stuff kind of like this, and we will make this into things that we could utilize later for little textures and little detail, which is really nice. What One of my favorite things to do on sounds, especially with basic waveforms, is to add distortion and reverb, even if it's on a bass sound. But distortion, reverb, and short delay, this is kind of like the Lorne magic. We can honestly just use Bitwig's first-party effects to get what I'm looking for, but we've already added distortion here. We can use a low pass filter, and then we can use an instance of convolution reverb and have some combination of this. But a lot of times when you have basic waveforms and you're sending it through like immense amounts of distortion and reverb, the tones that you get from the ratios of certain notes that are being played will create new overtones that create really cool distortion and like insane resonances. You definitely want to make sure that you're clipping this at the end, but let me throw some OTT over this, maybe like 2 or 3. And hopefully this will demonstrate what I'm looking for. It's kind of like a guitar, you know, or something of the sort. And so one thing that we can do with this is we can pitch this down. So one thing that I forgot is that while I'm recording this, we still have the original signal in here. What I will do is I'm actually going to make a copy of this. I'm going to highlight all of this, go back to the original, and then with this, I'm going to spread this out to where it's a little bit slower and just listen back to it. So that was actually really cool. This little thing right here, which it sounds so stupid, that like that's totally usable. And so I'm kind of just prepping myself to have more things to work off of. And as you can tell, we still don't even have a definitive thing for the track yet, but I'm playing around with just having anything to start with and continuing to try to iterate on this idea until I get something that I'm relatively happy with. And sometimes I'm like, yo, I have a melody in mind. I know exactly what I want to do, and then I'll go for that. When it comes into things about like coming unprepared, or at least preparing to improvise, sometimes this is kind of what I go through in order to try to find my way through whatever it is that I'm doing. And again, the more that you can be patient with this, the more successful you're setting yourself up to be. You just have to keep making decisions, keep making decisions. It's when you run out of decisions and you're like, I don't know what else to do, that it kind of starts to run flat. But if you don't rush it, then a lot of times you can get into some cool things. So like that was pretty cool. And so within these little intonations here, we could also do stuff like this, you know, where we turn this down by quite a bit. I mean, if we wanted to, we can put that in mono. I think it is in mono actually, and we could use that as a sub. I might play with that, maybe. And this is where elaborating on other stuff can sometimes be cool as well. Like more often than not, I come back to Beam just because sometimes it will do some crazy wonky shit. I like the texture of that, so we'll pull that out. That's pretty cool. Let's come back to this now, and we can start to implement some of these other things in here. So cool. So now that we have that, we can also create a spin-off of this. We can create a distorted bass off of this. I was thinking about, like, I might still use that other sub. Kind of add that little intonation that's kind of purposeful somewhere. The intensity is already there, and I'm really happy with that. So a combination between these will kind of help me fill out the rest of what it is that I'm looking to do. But as you can tell, like, I'm gaining confidence in this because I'm taking my time. I think that if you have the patience to take your time, then the best results usually come about. Not always, but But I do feel like when I'm like, okay, let's build off of this, let's just kind of wait it out and get into it, then 9 times out of 10, I can kind of see my way through of like what it looks like on the other side. That idea comes from me doing the processing of how to turn anything into anything. And then I was like, why don't I just do that with the hats that already sound like hats? And so just creating like a huge rack like this, which I need to turn it off because of the amount of CPU that it takes. Yeah, that's kind of where I got the idea from. And the more that I make new hats, the more that I can just put into that and then create variations from there. Okay, we're gonna add another filter here because I want this to sound a little bit meaner, like eh. I think what I want to do with this, I think I'm gonna paste it right here. There we go. That's a little bit more of a focused call and response. And I think that's going to cater better to the bass line. Dope. I think we're ready for the kick. So let's get into the design very quickly. Okay, let's make a clap. Okay, I want a little bit more crispiness with this. So we're going to EQ this again and just pull just a touch of high end out of it. So what I might do is just some artificial stereo enhancement. And that just kind of makes the bass stand out a little bit more. And now we can make our neuro bass with this. We can kind of do a cool interaction with here. Like I'll keep that, but we'll do like a skip, like a trip or fuck up. So now I'm just adding details and like little variations to this, so that way we've got some like an A part and a B part. So yeah, this is pretty much how I sketch. This is kind of what I do on a normal basis of track writing. Luckily, today turned out to be something that I'm pretty happy with. But yeah, if you like my sounds, check them out at alchemy.com. You can also support the channel by becoming a member or book me for a lesson, because I offer all those things. Thank you to Chat, who stuck around with me while I was producing this. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, where we can do this together live and you can come in and ask questions. But for a first video, I think that I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. But thanks everybody, I appreciate it. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.